So she has worked with the NGO for 13 years, and is dedicated to ensuring her NGO continues to be innovative and proactive in advocating and upholding the rights of all individuals with autism and the defiable community. She has 5 children, three of which are autistic. Didi has spent the majority of her life growing up with autism, as her brother is autistic as well. She has dedicated her life's work towards being an active youth advocate and youth leader for persons with disabilities. She is an active youth leader and member of disabilities in her community, and hopes to bridge the gap between individuals with autism and the community. She is trained in rights and legislations protection. She is active in promoting and developing employment training and opportunities for individuals with autism, as well as ensuring to reach her NGO's goal of being an autism-friendly community. She is also an SF FEDU alumnus, a YCL alumni, and AYPVC alumni as well. Let me welcome you, Didi Malai Abdullah. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Izyan, for that introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Google Developers Group Brunei and Women Tech Makers Brunei for inviting me for today's event for the kickoff of DevFest. I'm deeply honored to be delivering this keynote speech that touches on accessibility, equity, and inclusion, all of which I am deeply passionate about. So I'd like to begin this keynote with speaking on inclusion and the startups' roles with accessibility in tech and development, and the ripple effects it ultimately has. First and foremost, let's begin with the word inclusion. As Izyan mentioned, it's not just a buzzword, but right now in society, it feels like it's a buzzword. Huh? So what is inclusion? By now, everyone here has heard of this word. Do we truly know what its meaning is? So in simple terms, inclusion is the act of including a group of people or individual that has otherwise been excluded. Let's dive deep for a bit. Inclusion in its true aspects actually has 4 core principles. And the 4 core principles is that for inclusion is present, participating, achieving, and supported. In many ways, the word inclusion in today's society is a token word. Marginalized groups are still very much excluded in the current system of everyday life. They are present but not participating, or they are present and participating, but they are not achieving or supported. Achieving true inclusion means systematic change, whereby people from whatever background would be able to learn, achieve in a conducive environment to be part of society. While we see progress, inclusion is still one of the many issues that remain as an afterthought, and instead of being integrated into the system of daily life, it becomes lost. The ASEAN Disability Forum famously states that today's society, no one should be left behind. But in reality, we see so much of communities and individuals still left behind in some of the most basic essentials of development in progress, much of which is vital for success, such as education. Many individuals with different abilities or disabilities, for example, are still not able to access basic education. For the visually impaired or hearing impaired, especially in rural communities, they aren't able to access advanced technology that allows them to be able to learn basic literacy. Startups bridge the gap for many where education may seem inaccessible via tech. In employment, this is still a large issue across the Asia Pacific, where 90% of individuals with different abilities or disabilities are unemployed and rely heavily on welfare or are part of the socio-economical challenged communities. Here, this presents a jarring gap in society where we look at majority of the population as being advanced and see behind us a group of individuals that are excluded from this advancement. A pressing issue that has been around for decades and will continue unless systematic change happens. And here brings me to my second core topic for today, the beautifully wonderful relationship that tech developers here have with creating a space and environment that enables, empowers, and supports people of diverse backgrounds. Accessibility is a driving force for equity, specifically in technology and development. With technology rapidly advancing in this generation, we see more and more progression and the potential that developers have in pushing for sustainable, equitable, and long-lasting solutions to these very issues that have been around for decades. We know that accessibility is one of the main topics that has been raised in various international conventions, namely the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Conventions of the Rights of the Child, United Nations Conventions of the Rights of Persons with Disability, United Nations Development Programme, and many more. Advocating for accessibility is pivotal in society, and here startups, specifically in technology and development, our developers, are a pinnacle driver in societal and systematic change. Startups play a key integral role in pushing not just for advancement, but the larger social impact of creating an inclusive, accessible, and equitable society. To name a few ways that startups play a role in this, we can look at first and foremost the economical benefits. Referencing Australia as one of the case studies, they've highlighted that assistive technology or accessible tech improves and empowers persons with disabilities' lives massively. The case study noted that many of persons with a different ability or disability felt full autonomy, in which it means felt fully in control. This is one of the core human rights in many of the articles mentioned in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities. This not only empowers an individual to be independent, but also pushes for the social impact that society desperately needs in order for inclusion to be truly integrated into society. The case study also notes that design accessible tech is easy and in the form of simple designs, such as having text-to-speech options on their applications or websites to accommodate the visually impaired, to accurate captions and subtitles of multiple languages to help the hearing impaired individuals, to highlighted applications with larger fonts options or color contrasted options for neurodiverse individuals, specifically with sensory or attention deficit issues, many of which are also available as a Google developer on Microsoft and many more. These simple integratable designs assist a large amount of the population to not only be able to access an application or website, but going further into developmental pipelines such as education, employment, and research. Now diving into the third topic, which is the ripple effects that startups have with tech and development. Let's emphasize once again, the roles of startups have in developing their technology to be accessible. Not only does it push for advocacy and drives to have policies that ensure inclusivity and equity is achieved, the benefits that startups can gain to act from actively and intuitively have accessible designs in their tech or software, there is a great economical factor to this. We can break down the economical factors further into two: employment and consumers. In terms of employment, startups that develop their company towards accessibility in their company's identity create spaces where people of diverse backgrounds and diverse needs, either being marginalized by race, gender, or ability, would reduce the unemployment rate, bridging the gap of an untapped population, bringing in a more stable country GDP. And the ripple effects of these social factors are monumental, such as reducing welfare and reducing the socio-economical challenge groups. On top of this, when startups focus their web or app design with accessibility and inclusion into their identity, not only does this mean that their web or app is essentially accessible to everyone, but their increase in consumers. And this also means that there would be a massive increase in customer loyalty, as well as improve user experience and increase customer satisfaction, which ultimately enhances brand reputation and more. Additionally, designing accessible solution leads to a huge jolt in consumer loyalty due to the easy use of application. Accessible applications are designed to be intuitive and easy to use regardless of the user's experience level, which essentially means users can quickly learn and adapt how to use and navigate the apps or websites. Accessibility is an important concept that applies to people of various and diverse needs, from physical, sensory, cognitive, different abilities or disabilities. And startups can massively push for inclusion through their brand and tap into a larger amount of consumers as well as targeting the UN Development Programme's DEI model. The diversity, equity, and inclusivity model is one of the main models used by large corporations such as Walmart, Disney, SAP, Traveloka, and more. Their business models are to ensure better customer loyalty, better brand reputation, and furthering investors. In today's society, it is vitally important to ensure that your tech and software are inclusive, regardless of gender, race, age, or abilities and other factors. Another case study that we can look at is Japan. Now, Japan is notoriously famous and notoriously well known for having push for working remotely. And most of its tech in Japan, whether it be a software, an app, or a physical piece of technology, is with universal friendly design with accessibility and inclusion in place. A case study of one of Japan's local businesses during the pandemic had integrated accessibility design into their website and noted a significant increase in their consumers and consumer loyalty, noting that the benefits of including accessible design and ensuring inclusivity within their applications, softwares, and websites far outweighs the cons. To everyone here, I hope that DevFest brings about more push and drive for accessibility, having inclusion and equity, not just in mind, but in practice. I hope that today everyone is able to learn and gain more knowledge and be able to network amongst each other for a more accessible future, specifically for Brunei Darussalam. I hope that startups and tech developers will be able to be the drivers for systematic change and ensure that no one is left behind. I hope that you take today and throughout this whole DevFest as a way for you to see what are the needs of the community and how can you meet those needs with accessibility, not just in mind, but in practice. Because if it's always in your mind, it might not come to practice. But I would love to see it being more feasible, more present in the community. And I hope that for all the participants and all the speakers who joined DevFest for this whole weekend would get inspired and motivated to ensure that this happens throughout the following years to come. May we all learn from each other, have healthy and stimulating conversations for a better future for all. Before I end my keynote speech, which I think I'm a bit early and I'm very sorry for that, but before I end this keynote speech, I'd like to once again thank Google Developers Group Brunei Darussalam, the women tech makers of Brunei Darussalam, the audience here for today, and for all your time, and for listening to this mother of 5 who has 3 children with autism. It is my deepest honor to have been here with you all, speaking on a topic that I hold very dearly to me. Thank you and best regards. Let's hope for a very wonderful DevFest, and I look forward to seeing more and more technologies and developers come about with accessibility in mind. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Didi, for sharing that very insightful keynote speech. We do have a question from the floor, which is Alid Misli. His question is, how does Smarter Brunei integrate or encourage educational or assistive technology in your program for inclusivity? Best practices you can share so startup locally or international can support Smarter community.
Thank you very much for that question. So in Smarter Brunei, we begin our assistive technology, very simple. So what I deal with in Smarter Brunei is children and adults. So I have a very big range from children as young as 2 years old to as old as 40 years old who need to access a lot of technology. Now, so we start with the very basics. We don't aim to, in a sense, create applications, but what we do is we utilize the current um, tools that are available, which is not much, just to add on. So we, for example, when we are creating videos, which because children with autism and adults with autism learn better through visualization, we create videos and visuals that already have text-to-speech options, which already have color contrast, which are easy for them to, which is readable for them, it catches their attention. We also developed videos that have the closed captions with accurate subtitles in various languages, not just English and Standard Malay, but we include Brunei Malay in part of it, because some of the children or the adults don't actually understand proper Standard Malay. So we go for the Brunei Malay. So a great example is that you can check our YouTube channel, where we actually have a massive amount of videos developed specifically for people with autism to learn about basic literacies in education as well as employment. Just for added knowledge, I also own 4 different social enterprises under Smarter Brunei. These 4 social enterprises comprise of a bakery, a secondhand charity shop, a, a kitchen and bistro, and a cafe, which is located in Anggrek Desa swimming pool. So all my 4 startups, well, social enterprises essentially, target a lot of advanced tech in the sense of we want people to be able to access us via applications. So, for example, like Go Mamam is one of our partners that we want to join in, and again, using accessibility as tools. So, what Smarter Brunei really essentially aims for right now is if there was an application that would help people, not just with autism, but of all kinds of diverse needs, being able to navigate the world. So, say for example, a poster that you create that you want to share across social media, if it's shared in PDF form, most likely a lot of applications that are for visually impaired cannot read a PDF form. So you have to make a Word document version of it so they can use Microsoft for that text to speech option. So with Smarter Brunei is that we provide both options. We do one with a PDF, and then we do one with just words, complete words, so that people who are visually impaired would be able to access our information. It's the same for our websites. Our website is currently being partnered with one of the local businesses, and we have mentioned that we would like our website to have accessibility tools integrated. So this is something we're working towards. Now, if there was going to be an international, a local or international startup that would like to help us make applications specifically for people with disabilities, where it can be, I would say, an accessibility tool, an app that can go to different websites or different places and make that specific website accessible towards the community, then I would be more than happy to be part of it. I think that would be an amazing thing to have. In terms of best practices, I would say that you don't necessarily need to make a tech, but it is nice to use the tech available and improve the tech that is available currently. So that's one thing that I would say in terms of best practices. So what we have done is we utilize the tools that are currently available and try to work with what we have. But I would say that more tools for accessibility is always welcome, especially locally in Brunei. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Does others have any more questions in the chat? You may address it to Didi before we go off to the next session in about 10 minutes. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, I guess we can go to the next agenda. Currently, the next agenda for 10 a.m. for Dare and Build, helping you build your tech startup is already open. Please go to the next session. Yeah, we'll see you there.